let's begin again with just history here, Wheels, and being able to secure this first win and what it means overall.
What an amazing day. Like a great day for Canada, Canadian sport, and the Canadian men's national team. 40 years of a wait, Andy. 40 years since Canada played in their first ever World Cup game, June 1st, 1986. That's 14,627 days.
Wow.
And over the course of that period of time, I think many of us thought, is this ever going to happen? And if so, how? And the how today was very important because it was record-breaking. A number of different records we're going to detail over the course of the show. It was brash, it was bold, it was beautiful. The players deserve all the credit in the world. And guess what? Now the country is galvanized. They're excited. It wasn't just a win. It was emphatic, convincing, and people are now genuinely excited about what this team can do.
6-piece nuggets, no fries? Let's go! I've waited so long. I've waited so long for this moment, but just to say that as well, emphatic is the word. This is vibes. And we said about this in particular game, just being in the middle and what it could mean now that you're going to go and play Switzerland. This is just beautiful. So everyone, let's just relish this moment because it's been a long time coming with this team in particular. We've documented how in big games, maybe they've fallen short. They were foot on the gas the whole time, and I'm so proud of this team.
14,627. They just knew that the first ever win had to come on home soil.
Yes.
And by the way, with those 6 goals, it is a pretty big deal as we welcome in Christian Jack to the show because Switzerland and Bosnia-Herzegovina had played earlier as well. KJ, we knew the Swiss, they pulled off the victory, but more importantly, it was a 4-1 scoreline, right? So the +3 goal differential, the Swiss were leading. So not only did Canada need to win, they also had to score some goals if they wanted to be top of the group.
Yeah, in the end, maybe it was worth the wait, huh? 96 years after the World Cup started, 40 years after our boys went to Mexico for the first time in this competition. You know, 6 days after the game in Toronto, 6 goals and a fantastic overall performance. You know, this is what this team has been wanting to do, show the world who they are, and the ability to go out there and deliver it on the biggest stage is fantastic. It was special, really special to be inside the building. Vancouver showed up. The fan base was absolutely marvelous at times when they really needed to be and get behind the team. You could sense it as well. There's a lot of images that's going to stand with people for a long time from this night. You know, we've waited a long time for this victory in the Men's World Cup, and it was really, I think, a big moment for the program going forward. But a lot of those images, of course, will also be talked about around Ismael Kone, because obviously it felt like the perfect night until it wasn't quite perfect. And maybe that's, you know, the epitome of what Canadian soccer is all about, because, you know, we had that emotion with Kone off the top there as well. So a difficult one for him, but ultimately, I think, a fantastic night for Canada.
It really, really was. And there's so many other, as you mentioned, kind of historical moments here, right? The largest margin of victory by a team from CONCACAF at a men's World Cup. And let's talk about Kyle Larin. You know, we kind of figured he'd be in the starting 11. You had him in their Wheels yesterday. So Kyle Larin gets into the starting 11. Jonathan David, they do not disappoint. Jonathan David becoming the first to get a hat trick for Canada.
Yeah, really important for Kyle Larin to pick up where he left off last week, scoring in back-to-back games. He got the party started, and then it turned out to be the Jonathan David show. You just felt that there was going to be a purpose from this group to try to get David back to where he's comfortable, back where he's meant to be, and that's in the goals. And the finish was great. I thought his touches on the ball were vastly improved as well. And that was ticking a huge box, getting Jonathan David back on track. If this attack is going to continue this way, and look, they just played the 2 worst teams that they're going to play at this World Cup. That's in the rearview mirror. Looking ahead, you had to get Jonathan David going. A hat trick, the first player to do so from a non-European South American side since Bert Patenone in 1930, the first ever World Cup.
Wow.
So this is historic. His name is going to live forever, scoring a hat trick at a home World Cup. And no matter what you did, it gives a lot of confidence moving forward as well.
Of course, the goals people will talk about, and that's what we love, right? That's what changes the game. But I think it's the attitude of those 2 players. Yeah. Jonathan David, just even the first shot that Kyle Larin gets the rebound for, but it's him being instinctive and just waiting at that back post, but also having the attitude and desire to want to make the difference. I think that's important as well, because The past matches we've maybe criticized a little bit because his head's been down. He hasn't been looking like himself. He hasn't been joyous. Today he's playing with a bunch of joy, and he's getting those goals and chest bumping Eustachio. All these scenes and those vibes that we're going to carry through to the next round. And I love that about Kyle Larin as well. It's because there's a fox in the box on his first goal, right? To get things going, to get the day going. It's like he was being deliberate about his intention and his action. And that's what got Canada going and rolling in the right direction.
He was playing higher, too. It was partly based on the opponent dropping deeper, and deepest. But the areas he was finding himself in are the areas we're used to seeing Jonathan David thrive.
Yeah, KJ, this was bringing me back 5 years ago when David and Larin would be on the pitch together just trading goals. Like, nice little internal competition.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is what these two have been wanting to do for a while. Play together again up top. You could sense it in my interview with them in March, what they felt about each other, wanting to play together. We talked about it then. They went through some of my notes when I was talking to them about how many goals they've scored starting in the 11 for Canada going through it. It was 25 goals together in 35 games before today. They get another 4, and they stayed on the pitch the entire time. So that's a fantastic ratio for the two of the good friends, obviously, who share the same agent as well. But in the end, it was about Jonathan David. It was great that Kyle Larin was another opportunity to score and get the 1-0 goal, by the way. 1-0 Larin again. I've nicknamed him that for a long time. That's 13 1-0 goals that guy's got. I'm not going to go through the list. I've done it many times, those 1-0 goals in World Cup qualifying and the goal to get them to Copa America. And again, he set them going forward. But it wasn't just Larin, it was Jonathan David. Jonathan David sets up Kyle Larin's goal because of the ability to read the ball coming across, just dropping deep, the ferocity of his shot that led to the rebound that allowed Larin to score. And then obviously the volley as well, which is one of the greatest goals you're ever going to see from this team. And he is one of the greatest players that you're ever going to see on this team. And on the greatest night, you needed your great players to step up. And he was absolutely marvelous. Not only does he get his hat-trick, but he was the best player on the pitch by a country mile. And it gets him going. It's been a bit of a story this week. You could see that they were talking about it in their celebration a little bit with Kone doing that with his fingers. But that's what we're about. We talk about this, but this is what expectations are there for big players to step up. And I don't think many of us expected him to score, and he did.
Incredible. We have the Golden Boot race board up right now. And I mean, Lionel Messi, what a start it was for him.
It's
and
early, but
David,
dream big. Dream big.
You know what? You're seeing two Canadian players up there with the likes of, yes, Messi and Kane and Holland. And that, you know what? It's pretty cool. At the end of the day, that is just pretty cool. By the way, Canada has never lost when Kyle Larin has scored. 22 wins and 3 draws. But definitely the Jonathan David show here. But you had mentioned it earlier, KJ. I think we all feel the same way. This was a party, and then something went wrong, and it was Ismael Kone going down, and the mics picked up what we now know to be, from the Canadian bench. His leg is broken, and all of our hearts just sank. You spoke to some of the players after the match here. How was everyone feeling?
Yeah, it was the perfect night until it wasn't. And it was really difficult to see, not just because of Ismael, but because of the entire team. And this was a night that many people will remember forever. The celebrations in the crowd and those that are there got to see an historic performance for Canada. And that's really special, and those images will stick with them. But there's other images, and it's not just of Kone's injury, but for me, it's the moment that Kone was put on a stretcher and then everybody was wondering what was happening. And we see the rise, right? That's what we say in Canada. We saw Kone rise from the stretcher and sit up. And a moment when he's broke his leg and his World Cup is ended, he sits up to make sure that he waves to the crowd and get that moment with the crowd. And I could not believe the strength of the man to be able to do that. And then, as before we get to the players, the way that this team reacted to that moment was poignant. And the reason why is because it was a night for love. And this team has been building something for a long time together, and they talk the talk and they walk the walk. And it's real and it's authentic. It's the togetherness. You could see the reaction on the field. You could see the love right away for their teammate. And at times they've hit that away. At times they've built that camaraderie, they've built that authenticity, and they've built that togetherness. But in front of millions of people watching it, there was nowhere to hide. They had to show their emotions, and they had to come together. And of course, that was on their mind afterwards as well, as they spoke to the players, starting with Kyle Larin.
When it happened, it's hard to just digest, and I know the feelings of the guys, and some guys are more emotional than others, but you kind of have to just snap out of it, and obviously you're going to feel how the way you feel, but you're going to have to carry on the game, and but we'll be there for Kone like we've done for the other guys that's happened to.
You're excited to go try and win the group for him?
Yeah, no, we're going to go all the way, and we're going to try to do it.
You know, just to give some of the viewers a bit of an insight into this, we go into the mix zone and not every player has to speak, and sometimes they decide to just chat. There were some players that were not wanting to speak, some players that came through with sunglasses on, that had headphones on, that just didn't want to be able to put it into words after an historic night. Some players that are very close to Moise Bombito, and you could hear what Kyle Larin had to say as well. Alistair Johnston, one of the players that always speaks and always speaks so well. Here's what he had to say after this one.
It's a freak injury, but it's definitely an unnecessary one at the same time. And at that point, you're just thinking, you feel for the kid because you saw how good he was in the first match. You know, for us to be at our best, he's a big part of it. Hopefully be able to go see him tonight in the hospital, see the spirits he's in. Yeah, look, it's going to hit him hard, but at the same time, I was proud of him. And we're going to play for him. And you saw that, Natan came on, scored. The first thing he's thinking about is Ismael. And that's what this team's all about, really, is a brotherhood.
As you said, there's something to play for. Remember, this is a team that has been around adversity for a long time. It wasn't lost on me that Tajon Buchanan walked through there. Alistair Johnston was the player that passed him the ball in training for Copa America and heard that when Tajon Buchanan broke his leg. What are we talking about? Moise Bombito just coming off a broken leg. Maxime Crepeau in goal coming off a broken leg as well. So this has been a difficult moment for a lot of these players. Here's the captain, Alphonso Davies.
It was a great performance. We knew the outcome of the last game and wanted to do our job today, and that's what we did.
What about the team coming together to rally after Ismael? What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was a shock for everyone. You never expect this in a game of football, especially injuries like this. It was just a shock, and we lost a player that has a lot of quality, that brings a lot of quality to this team. And we're all trying to stay strong for him and keep our head up for him, and hopefully everything goes well.
We also spoke to Jonathan David and Stefan Eustaquio in a different area, not necessarily in the mix zone there, to be able to get that kind of video for you. And a lot of what was said there was Jonathan David was very, very concise in his answers, but did make some points where they were quite unsure about why Qatar were making those tackles and the ferocity that they were making them so far away from goal at that scoreline at that time. But as Canada said, as Stefan Eustaquio, the captain, said, you put your head down, you go out there, you continue to score the goals, and now they're in a good position for the group as well.
All right, KJ, appreciate you taking the time. Christian Jack out in Vancouver, taking in the match today, and of course talking about Ismael Kone there and his broken leg. We're going to dive more into that. By the way, Jesse Marsh confirming Kone is at the hospital. He's undergoing surgery. His mother is with him, and he also confirmed that the player who tackled him, Asim Madibo, did come into the Canadian dressing room afterwards to apologize. And he looked completely distraught as well on the pitch. It's an all-around such an unfortunate situation. But, your thoughts on Kone and as well how the team moves forward.
Well, first of all, on the injury that was suffered, I really don't think that the player did it on purpose. It even shocked Ismael Kone when he looked down, like his reaction said it all. But this is what happens when you're playing a team that, quite frankly, is nowhere good enough. They were nowhere fast enough. They couldn't keep up with the play. So the challenges may have looked or felt dirty to the players on the field. They were just exceptionally late because they weren't just one step off it, they were two or three. And that's giving full credit to Canada as well. Their intensity, the pace which they played at, Qatar simply couldn't keep up, Andy. And this is part and parcel of the 48-team World Cup. We're going to see games like this. Won't be the only game like this that we saw. We've already seen Germany just destroy Curacao 7-1. When you go down to 10, then 9 men, and you're a team like that, trying to play a team like Canada, good luck. They just couldn't keep up. And as for Ismael Kone, over the course of major tournaments, whether it's Olympics or World Cups or anything like this, there are these moments that define a team. And sometimes when adversity strikes within a tournament, man, this team has faced enough building up to the tournament, but when it happens within, it can really be a galvanizing moment. I'm not saying motivation, like all the motivation is plain to see for this group. They play for one another. It's a home World Cup for crying out loud. But this is just one of those moments where they look at each other and it's the next man up mentality that they've been experiencing in the build-up to this World Cup, that I think having that unfortunate experience before can pay off in spades going forward. Saliba, Chouanier, Osorio, whoever they play in that role, none of them are Ismael Kone. They're all different profile type players, but I don't think it will matter in terms of the commitment and the intensity that they'll continue to bring in order to try to get the job done.
Ismael's a different breed, like through and through. The way that he plays his football, just his persona. Even hearing him in the presser yesterday, like the charisma that he has. Keep in mind, like French is his first language. He's making jokes in English. Like that's just him. He's an infectious personality. And I think obviously on the football pitch and within a team, it's like a family. You got the jokers. You got the ones that are like the serious and smart and beautiful ones. You got it. That's
were you playing at Will?
I'm like the Joker, and he's like me.
Like Spider-Man meme.
You have a family, right? That's the vibe there. But Ismael Kone is the glue guy. He's the glue guy on the pitch, playing in the engine room in the center midfield, but just the way that he interacts. But I think when the glue guy is clapping, is coming off the pitch, knowing that his World Cup dream that he's worked for is gone just like that, the fire that that gives to your team, the fire that that gives to your country will go on and live on forever. I'm going to remember the six-piece hold the fries today when Canada beat Qatar, but what I'm going to remember is a kid, a young man, clapping, knowing that his World Cup is over, but his team is going to go on and do business. And that, for me, is magic.
And do you know what the
magic?
Do you know what the next thing we saw after that? The player that came onto the field to replace him scored the first direct free kick of a World Cup.
Fantastic.
In Saliba holding up his kit. Like, that's saying, I got you, my friend.
Yes.
I got you. And so, look, like, man, it's such a significant loss. As I said, Qatar stunk. Like, look, we're going to celebrate the result. Qatar were so far off it, and some of the behavior just... It wasn't something that you're used to seeing at World Cups. With that being said, the tests are going to get bigger, and it's going to become more difficult going forward. Saliba's going to have a huge role to play in that, as will other players. You got to do it together, and that's what this group is, a team first and foremost.
10 seconds, it's intentional, because when you look at Tejan Buchanan, Schaffelberg, who plays a similar position, raised his jersey as well. Like, this is something that this brotherhood that everyone has talked about, this team always demonstrates. This is not a fluke. This is not for clout. This is a real deal, and I think that spirit can take them far in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give the team credit as we take a look at their full-time stats, because sometimes, too, I mean, not that they were going to lose this, but it can kind of derail you a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But they continued to get the goals. Saliba, it was such a heartwarming moment to see him have that awareness after he scores the goal to immediately do the number 8 with his hands. And then go and grab his kit. But this is pure domination, 78%. 31 shots to 2, 10 on target. Max Crepeau had a day off. Basically, 0 shots on target.
Can I share one stat, Andy? They had 97 touches in the attacking box. That's 26 more than anyone on record in a FIFA World Cup. That's 26 more than Germany in 1966 against Costa Rica. This was a record-setting performance.
So heading into this, we said that this was like their biggest game in their history in the program. So they came out, they get the win. It's emphatic, as you mentioned, 6-0. Yes, Qatar, they were not good. They end up going down to 9 men. Canadians getting the job done. But here's the thing. We also knew they had to score the goal. We were showing you the standings there. Jesse Marcia said the goal is to finish first in the group. We know that. It's not just to move on, it's to finish first. So when they saw Switzerland, Jordan, I mean, it was like nothing in that first half. Second half, all kinds of action, because even Bosnia getting a red card there. They score. Then there's a penalty. It does, like, either way, it's 4-1, which means Switzerland's now on +3. So if you're Canada, you know that you got to at least win by 4 in order to be in first place. So to see that response, knowing what Switzerland did, how much more important does it make this result?
Yeah, it makes it's huge. And you could see the intent, right? Because even after they scored, they're still pressing like they needed to go and score. And I think that kind of just permeated throughout the group, just that willingness to go for and to make a difference. Now Canada in the driver's seat. But you know what I love about this, Wheels? Is that they're going to the driver's seat, and they were going to play this game against Qatar, being the favorites. And now you're going, if you're looking at the group with Switzerland, even though they just gave them a 6-piece against Qatar, you're going against Switzerland, and people are thinking, Switzerland always make it out the group. They always go far in this tournament. So now, all of a sudden, in my opinion, Canada's the underdog, but with that with that vibe and with that conviction that they just played today, this is a perfect scenario for Canada. Going into a BC place that was packed out, I've never seen the place so red and white. Beautiful. Knowing that you can play at home and what that could bring to your team and what that could bring to your country, this is an ideal situation for Canada, and they deserve it by the effort they put out today.
Vancouver, BC Place is a secret sauce. Not just because of the great support, which it was, and you want that home field advantage. You want to be able to play in this country. You could potentially play 2 knockout round games. But the fact you play indoors in a controlled climate where you're not battling the heat, no team runs as much or with the intensity as Canada.
Yeah.
So you want to mitigate those external factors that could maybe change the way that you play. This is huge for the group that they can control their own destiny. Switzerland's got to come into our house. This is our house and come away with the result. It draws good enough for Canada, so it puts them in a fantastic position. It's going to be a big matchup in this final group stage game, and I cannot wait for it.
Well, guess what? When we come back, we're going to go to our segment, This Is Our House, because that is exactly how the Canadians made it feel out in Vancouver, and that's where we're going to head to next and check in with Mackenzie Barwell as you continue to watch Bet365 for the win on One Soccer.